Good morning, YouTube. Thanks for tuning in to Total Payout Podcast. You're now tuned in with your host, Trouble. It's February 26th, Thursday. Okay, so go ahead and start this episode with kind of going over yesterday's picks. We did go 2-1 yesterday, so not a losing day. Obviously a winning day is always a good day when you cash in that check. So let's go ahead and start with the picks. We had St. John's plus 4.5. We had OKC plus 8.5, and then we had the Milwaukee Bucks plus 9.5. Now, looking at the only loss, we always eat the crow first, man. Over here we don't we don't duck the smoke, we don't run from our losses. So we're gonna go ahead and go over the St. John's L. Obviously they got beat up, they got demolished. So not gonna spend too much time on that game. Looking back at it, watching the game, probably should have went with UConn at home. Looking at their last game, obviously St. John's had already beat them at home, so doubling back on it, I probably should have, at least laid away from it if I didn't trust UConn or just went with UConn. But you live and you learn. You live to see another day, man. Hope to see fight another battle. Looking at the NBA, we did have the OKC plus 8.5, so barely by the chinny chin chin the hook. Always got to get the hook on there, man. You always go with the hook. Don't lay a flat number in today's gambling. No flat numbers. No flat numbers. Um, just looking at it, obviously Detroit it was kind of fully manned. OKC not so much. Chet a scratch. So it was kind of looking shabby once I kind of looked at the end game. I'm like, oh no, Chet is kind of I don't know. I'm sweating it. But looking at the game, looking at how Detroit plays, like I said, it's kind of tough back in Detroit with a couple buckets because for one, they don't shoot the three excellent. They don't have excellent 3-point shooters. They have a couple good 3-point shooters, but they don't get enough shots as far as to be able to volume shots to be effective enough. The Duncan Robinsons, the Kevin Herter. I don't even know if Herter's even getting time right now. But with Detroit, it's kind of like you're trading threes for twos. So looking at that 8.5 points, which swelled to 10.5. Once I think Chet was called out, it went to 10.5. So if you got that 8.5, 9.5, 10.5, we're good. But like I say, it was a pick that I liked with Chet. Without Chet, I was kind of nervous. But like I said, with Detroit, you kind of you're asking them to trade three for twos, pretty much because they're not they don't hit a lot of 3 pointers. When you have a team who shoots the three or can hit the three enough to outgun the two, and then you're asking Detroit to show up a lot more at the free throw line and at the rim. So it's kind of tough. As far as the Bucks game, that one, obviously I liked the Bucks with the 9.5 points. Late scratch James Harden, injury, tough. Then you had Donovan Mitchell, so it's kind of tough. Obviously I don't want to gloat on that pick. I did like the Bucks with them playing, but 3 and 4. James Harden injury. It was a close game, but you still, if you took it, I know it went down to like 3.5 when it closed. So once I seen that 3.5, I knew something was up. But if you got the line early in the day, you got that 9.5. You were good. You didn't even have to turn TV on to watch it. You knew you were good. Go to sleep, wake up, cash that check. So those were the three games. We did go 2-1, like I said, in those three games. So it was a tough loss with St. John's getting blown out. We did have the Thunder barely pulled through, and then we had the Bucks get lucky by the Stars not playing and pulling out the 2-point win. So not a bad night. 2-1, 2-1. That's what I say. Now today, got another three picks. Now today we're gonna go with one college game, then we got two more NBA games. Didn't go too deep into the college slate. A lot of off schools. Looked at them. Not nothing really got me, wanting to jump on anything tough. Um, the game I did like was Missouri State against Louisiana Tech. So we're gonna take a look at that one. Then the NBA games we're gonna take a look at. We got Miami Heat versus the Philadelphia 76ers. And then we got Houston versus Orlando. So we'll take a look at those three games to see what we come up with and see if we can go ahead and get and have another great day. Hopefully a 3-0 day. And kind of have a great day. So looking at the college game first, always gonna go with the little boys first, the young men first. So Missouri State, we got them coming in at 13 and 14 overall, 13 and 11 against the spread. We got Louisiana Tech 15 and 12, and then they're also 13 and 11 against the spread. Over under, Missouri State is 14 and 10 to the over, and then Louisiana Tech is an under team 10 and 14. So pretty much flipping flopping 14 and 10, 4 games over. Then Louisiana Tech 4 games under. Then we got Missouri State. Um, they're even on the spread with Louisiana Tech being the better team at 15 and 12. Now, looking at this game, getting straight to it, I'm gonna go ahead and call out a total that I like in this game. For a few reasons. We'll go ahead and get to it. But looking at the previous meeting, they have already played each other this season. It was a game back on February 12th, so about almost 2 weeks ago, actually 2 weeks ago today. So 2 weeks ago today, these teams did play. It was in Missouri State. Louisiana Tech won by one as a 4.5 point dog. The total in that game was over 135. So the total today is 135, 136. So it's literally they mirrored the total exactly what last game total was. Last game did go to overtime. So they had a total. The end was 157 in the overtime. So obviously, over they went over 135 with the overtime added. Now, as far as this game, what I do like is I do like the over. Now, I will give a couple things that made me want to take the over in this game. Head to head, they only played a couple times. They're 1-1 against each other, 1-1 against the spread, and then the total 1-1. So as even as you can get in this game, as far as they go. So there's really no edge as far as history is concerned. But individually, without each other, they do have a couple things that stuck out to me as far as what I do like in this game. As far as Missouri State, they are 6-1 over their last 7 games. Also, they're 5-1 to the over their last 6 as an underdog. Now, Louisiana Tech is 5-2 their last 7 over as a favorite. So, in the scenario, the situation, you got Missouri State over last 7, 6-1 their last 7 they're over, and then also as a dog they're 5-1 so they're over their last 6. Then you got Tech 5-2 their last 7 as a favorite they're going over. Also both of them are 5-3 over under in conference. So in conference games they're 5-3 to the over. Now in that game that happened on February 12th, like I said, it did go to overtime. Now they did mirror the same total, so literally 135, 136, same exact total. They just basically ran it back. The regulation was 68-68, 136. So it did go over the regulation. In regulation, it went over. Obviously, the overtime, you had somebody had to win the game, so we get the extra 21 points. So, but in regulation, it went over. So we do have that. Obviously, barely. If somebody would have won by one either way, 69-68 or 68-67, we would have went under or over by a point, depending on which way it would have went. Um, or under by a point. But like I say, I like that for that reason. Missouri State is on heaters with the over. They are both over teams in conference. As a dog, as a favorite in their scenario, they're both over teams. So, I'm going to go ahead and take a stab at that over 136. If you can get some 135 and a half, obviously take it. But 136 is where I got it. I like that number at 136. Hopefully we can get that, at least both teams push 68 again, or we just have both teams go over to 70 and we know we clear 135. So let's shoot for both teams scoring 70 and we're good to go. Now to bounce over to the big dogs, the NBA. We're gonna go ahead and start with let's go ahead and start with the Miami Philly game. Okay, so in this game, gonna go ahead and just kind of go over the previous game first. These teams already did meet. The last game was November 23rd. That was a home game for the 76ers. Miami did win that game as a 1.5 favorite by 10, 127, 117. It did go over. The total at that time was 240. So we pretty much are mirroring the same total, 240, 241. So this total today, I think it's 241. And then we got Philly -2. Now head to head, the Heat are 7-3 last 10 on the money line against Philly. So Heat are dominating Philly, 8-2 against the spread, total domination. The total is 4, 5, and 1 to the under. So 4 overs, 5 unders, 1 push. Now, as far as this game, I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna take the under. 240 was the last total. Philly, high scoring team. I'm not gonna say Miami don't score a lot, but Miami, Boston, these teams to me generally are low scoring teams. Now, obviously, year by year, different case, different personnel, but overall, Eric Spoelstra is an type of coach. He's a defensive type of coach, and then you have over in Philly, they're an offensive team, but I just think that this game, based on Miami being the team who dominates Philly, not saying they're going to win tonight, just saying by history, I think he's going to employ the same tactics that shine through, which is what defense. Obviously, not saying they go over or under at a rate that's alarming. It's a pretty much even, but with the under by 1 game with that push in there. But I like this game under because I like Miami to control this game. Philly to me, they have beaten some teams. Obviously, beating Minnesota their last game that we would probably be like, nah, I don't like them against them. But when I watch Philly games, they generally struggle against good teams. I'm not saying Miami's a great team, but I think Miami's going to hit a stride because they're getting healthy. And I just think that they look at Philly obviously with the last 10, they're 7-3, 8-2 against the spread. So I don't see them looking at Philly and having a struggle. I see Miami being one of those teams that's going to climb up the ladder by the end of the season. So I think they're going to control this game, and I think it goes under 241. My number, I have it as 234, my personal number. So it's 7 points under what they have it. So like I said, I like to do between 4 and 7 points. So like I said, I'm gonna take that game under 241 for the first NBA game that we have on the docket. Now, the second game we have is gonna be Houston versus Orlando. Now, in this game, they have played already this season as well. Now, that game was played way back in November, no, on November 16th, in 25. So a little bit before Thanksgiving, was when that game was played. So like the last game, a little bit while ago since they last played each other. That was in Houston, obviously. Houston won that game by 4. Also in overtime. That was Orlando was a cover at plus 7.5, and it did go over 223.5 as well. Now, the regulation total they had was 214 before the overtime. So obviously, the overtime did make the game help the game get over the 223.5 total. They are running back with a lot lower total this game. This game is at 216, 216.5. I did see a 215.5 out there, but it's generally 216, 216.5 is what I'm seeing pop up the most. Now, as far as head to head, Houston is 7-3 against the money line, so they have been, kind of dominating Orlando. Um, this team Orlando. As far as against the spread, they're as even as you're going to get, 5-5, and then the over is 7-3. So they are playing to the over no matter where the numbers at. They are dominating the over. So it looks like the bet probably. I'm not saying it today, but it generally is Houston with the over money line more than likely with the over is usually what's been cashing in this series lately. Now as far as the totals that I kind of looked at. I mean, as far as trends and things that kind of stuck out to me, I did see Houston 5-6 over under away versus the East, so they're 1 game under. Orlando is 6-2 over under at home versus the West. So against West teams, Orlando opens up the court. They do score and go over whatever the total set at. As far as Houston, they are 2-2 their last 4 over under away. So Houston generally is an under team, as far as Houston. Looking at Houston, because I know when I had handicapped Houston a couple games ago. Um, at home, Houston's a big under team, but on the road they're kind of even on the total. Actually, I think they were like 1 game over on the total as of last game on the road. Now Houston on the road is 15-15. They're even on the road. I understand, overall is 24-33. They're 9 games to the under, but even on the road. Orlando at home 13-13. So Orlando 29-28 overall, 1 game over. So, as far as this game, just tipping my hat, tipping what I like the over 216.5. Um, I mean, it's not you're not asking a lot. It's not a 240. like the last game, 216. Obviously, we're playing Houston, a team that generally goes under, but Houston averages 114, 115 points a game. Orlando averages 115. Not saying it's going to hit 230, but in general, neither one gives up the 108 that we have to go under, even if we were going to push in regulation to go under, or even somewhere near that. Somebody has to go under their season average, whether it be defensively, they have to outplay their defensive, or they have to score less than what they score. And I'm not saying they can't happen, but just looking at history and overall, you know, I just think the numbers are a little generous. And then seeing what Orlando does at home versus the West, and then also the trend of this head to head. I'm not saying we will get another overtime as well. You got Houston 5-2 last seven in Orlando. So looking at that trend, Houston is 5-2 to the over last seven times they took a trip down there. Also, Orlando is 4-1 last five at home overall. So the last four of their last five games at home have went over. Also, over is 5-2 the last seven games with these two teams in general. So I just think that 216.5 is a generous number. Not saying that it can't go under, but I just think that it does enough to creep over. I don't see a big game spread wise, somebody blowing each other
Low
out.
power place
I
charges.
just I just think that you have these teams playing tough enough to be able to compete, where they score enough to not get blown out, to where you get some free throws. Some late games where they both hit 108 and we go over that. So that's where we're kind of looking at today. We got a Louisiana Tech over 136. We have Philly under 241, and then we got Orlando over 216.5. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and once again and try to get a 3-0 day today. Want to thank you guys for tuning in to Total Payout Podcast. It's your host Trouble. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe at the end of this video. I appreciate you guys giving me a time of your morning. So February 26th on Thursday. You guys have a great day. Thank you.